During much of the Game Boy era, portable games were often based on their more fully fleshed out counterparts on home consoles. For instance, Super Mario Land was the mini equivalent of Super Mario Bros. On the NES. Same with Castlevania and Castlevania The Adventure. And now, we have Wizards and Warriors. As the first title developed by Rare for the Nintendo Game Boy and published by Acclaim, Wizards and Warriors 10, The Fortress of Fear, is not the 10th game released in this well-known series. It's the 3rd. Okay. Where did this all start? Well, once upon a time, in 1987, Wizards and Warriors released on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it was a hit. All of its sword-wielding and spell-casting and rack-up-a-high-score goodness was consumed by a hungry public. A sequel was inevitable, and 2 years later, in 1989, Wizards and Warriors 2 Ironsword hit store shelves and was quite popular as well. Taking this franchise portable only took one additional month, and in January of 1990, Wizards and Warriors 10, The Fortress of Fear, released as one of the first third-party games for the Game Boy. Now we have a lot to cover, so let's grab some popcorn because the hype for this game is sure wanting us to melt. Okay, so here on Boy Meets Game, I'm going to start with a hype factor tangent. The savvy advertisers at Rare knew that they had to up the ante for the second release, and boy did they ever.
Almost. Finally, yeah!
Triumph is ours!
Kuros!
But the battle of Wizards and Warriors continues with Ironsword. The evil wizard Malkil will take the shape of the earth, wind, water, and fire. Farewell! The fate of the world is in your hands! Backed by a beast!
Live the saga of Ironsword on your Nintendo Entertainment System from Acclaim.
Kuros?
Wizards and Warriors Ironsword had a huge marketing campaign, and it all centered on this butter ambassador from Milan, Italy, Fabio Lanzoni. You may know him from his rather provocative food/romance crossover commercials in the 90s.
The stuff dreams are made of. So easy, so effortless.
So tasty. I can't believe.
I can't believe it's not butter. Spray.
Introducing an easy new way to enjoy fresh butter taste without any fat or calories. New I can't believe it's not butter spray. It's not just a dream any longer.
It says fantasies don't come true.
I can't believe it's not butter was a deep-cut, mid-90s pop culture phrase that still exists for those with long-forgotten memories of commercials, flowing hair, big muscles, and healthy, butter-like spray. But okay, back to the boy. Knowing that the majority of dollars were spent on the NES ad campaign that came out only a month before the Game Boy version, it's clear that the celebrity status of Fabio could not be afforded on the front side of the Game Boy box art. But this Fabio wannabe is at least comparable. Flowing hair? Check. Rippling muscles? Yes. Headband of power? Don't leave home without it. While not as legendary as the Ironsword, it's still pretty fun. On the back of the box it says, hundreds of enemy encounters await you. Deadly bats and other flying beasts attack you from above. Scorching fireballs and arrows speed towards you. And skin-crawling spiders and undead skeletons appear from the darkness. Defeat them all. A great piece of text challenging the players accompanied by two fantastic gameplay shots, the first of level 1 where Kuros, our heroic knight, encounters a man-eating snake. Not a bad representation from the package to the pixels. The second is a boss from a later level who looks a little bit like Skeletor's dad, which is a great choice because this is the largest enemy design in the game, pixel-wise, so it looks evil-churningly great on the back of the box. The NES forefathers, the action-packed cover, the inability to count to 10, the commercials, and the butter connection all help to hype this one to a sizzle. But come on, let's not burn this butter. Instead, let's pop Kuros in and boot him up. Fortress of Fear has a bold title screen and music track combo that works well, and it really gets my butter pumping as it plays this upbeat looping track alongside images of the nasty Malkil's fortress. This really taunts the player because, well, the portcullis is left wide open.
Intruder alert!
Also, fun tidbit. We know this is developed by a British company because the word honor is spelled with a U. In the American spelling, we spell honor without it. But come on, this ain't tea time. It's time to press start. As the setting literally falls in from the sky, you are Kuros, blessed by the medieval gods with an incredibly floaty jump power that you'll need throughout the game to access various platforms. In each level, and they are relatively short, about 3 to 4 minutes a shot depending on difficulty, you are tasked with collecting keys for treasure chests, finding 1-ups, amassing gems, and killing or avoiding, yes, that's 4 axes, Malkil's army of evil. Make your way through all 18 levels and you'll beat the game. Now this is a pretty standard platformer that, while having some pretty egregious enemy respawning points, later in the game especially, it's playable and actually quite fun. It is a difficult game and you will die a lot, but there are hidden bonus levels scattered throughout the journey, which offer much needed 1-ups, health meat, and shields of protection. Without the bonus levels, this would be a majorly painful grind and maybe even unplayable. Another painful mechanic is that there are no continues, making those extra lives even more necessary to track down. Jump above the screen over the bricks as often as possible because you will definitely need these lives later in the game. Another serious gripe, especially for a guy that can jump to the clouds, is that there is fall damage in this game. Even floating down from one platform to another will usually damage Kuros' heart meter. Seriously? It's pretty bad when you're worried about dying on the bonus level, which is uncalled for. Graphically, as long as you're playing this with a backlight, this is a good-looking Game Boy game. It's actually hard to believe it's such an early title on the hardware. Kuros himself looks fantastic, probably because he takes up a lot of screen real estate, but so do the enemies and most of the bosses. However, as mentioned previously, playing on an original Game Boy is a muddled and ghosty mess. Precision movement on the original hardware with any sort of background design was just not very good because the foreground and background turn this into a slurry that just isn't fun. In this adventure, you'll be traveling through the bridge and moat, the dungeon, the armory, above the parapet, and finally into Malkil's chambers. Malkil, that devious antagonist. Looks a little bit like Neff from Altered Beast mixed with Emperor Palpatine, and he's definitely got evil written all over him. Okay, so let's talk about the music here. Just listen to the Level 1 soundtrack. If it's a carnival, circus, or something rejected from Lambchops' Playalong, but don't let that first soundtrack turn you off too much. Composed by David Wise of Donkey Kong Country fame, this soundtrack does get better, but just avoid the Charlie horse on the first level.
Out of sight!
Even though the level 1 track had me feeling pretty down on this one, it gets much better. The dungeon level, for instance, listen to this. This is more like it, a little more dire but still rocking the rhythm. Bosses have a pulsing track that feels pretty epic as well. And finally, in the Colosseum, above the ramparts, again, lighthearted, but it has this amazing little series of synth that goes up and down. Really awesome stuff. Fortress of Fear proves that developers, even when trying to come to grips with the limitations of the hardware, were trying to squeeze as much of their console experience onto a Game Boy cart as they could. Unfortunately for people playing on an original Game Boy, this would have been an exercise in frustration as the precision platforming did not mix well with the artistic elements on screen. It's tough because with a backlight or playing on a Super Game Boy, it's actually a fun romp if you know what you're getting into. This is the era of memorization, meaning Fortress of Fear is twitchy, especially in later levels. If you don't like memorizing levels or dealing with continuous respawning of both enemies and projectiles, this probably isn't the game for you. And even though it can be cheap, finding those hidden 1-ups is essential if you want to beat it. A full playthrough, if you memorize the short levels, will take you about 30 minutes, which is what these Game Boy experiences were going for after launch. While it might not be the gold that we would come to expect from developer Rare later in the 90s, I found it to be an interesting and fun look at the history of the Game Boy. And that, my friends, is butter. I mean, Fortress of Fear for the Nintendo Game Boy. Thanks for watching this take on Fortress of Fear for the Nintendo Game Boy. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Boy Meets Game, where we look at classic games from a slightly different perspective. Thank you so much, and see you guys again real soon.